Hello and welcome everybody to another virtually Starlight. I'm Chris Brady. I'm the managing director over at Starlight Theater. Welcome. Thank you for joining us. Tonight we have a special one for you. We're doing Joe Knows. So if you've ever visited us for a Joe Knows, you understand what you're in for. And we are talking about Rebels Night. And that's a show that's very near and dear to a bunch of our hearts. So we're going to get into it so you don't just have to hear me blab all the time. But if you have the ability, we don't have a season now because of COVID, obviously. And we, just like every institution in the world, are struggling financially. So if you have the chance and the inclination, please donate at rvcdonate.com. We would really appreciate it. But right now, I'm looking at our backstage area, just making sure he's here anyway. But I'm going to introduce you to the one and the only, the Brain. And if you ever have a chance to hear him tell the story of why we call him the Brain, you'll have to do it offline. The brains of the operation, Joe Coots, everybody. Hi, Joe.
Hi. I'm such a brain, I can't figure out my tripod.
Yeah, okay. Well, we got that going for us.
Yeah, what's going on, America? Chris,
Joe
mustache.
Thank you.
Every week gets better and better.
Well, it gets longer and longer. After the end of this next week, I get to shave it. We only have one more week left, virtually Starlight, everybody. So then this is coming off because this is a summer stash. It's tradition. It's only a tradition for like years.
That thing is amazing.
I'm shaving it, Joe.
All right, I like it. All right.
Everybody out there watching, just so you know, feel free to type in the comments. We might feature your comment up here, such as, hey, Connie says hi.
Hi, Connie.
Yay, hi, that kind of stuff. Feel free to go ahead and ask questions as well. A lot of you might be not understanding tonight because many of you have not experienced Rebels. But we're going to try and fill you in. This is a world premiere that happened at Starlight, right, Joe Coots?
That's right. We were both in it.
Well, we were two of a myriad people that were in it. Yes.
Yeah, we were like one of 280 people that were in it.
It's a big cast, guys. It's a show about the Revolutionary War. So making this a Starlight show was something else. I was away at college for a lot of it, so I'm going to let other people do the storytelling. But, Joe, why don't we bring in our guests? Why don't you go ahead and bring them in for us? I'll click the buttons. You talk.
You got it. You click away. I'll talk.
Wow. Okay. Do you want to introduce anybody? Like you want to start the ball rolling, or?
Oh, okay. Yeah. Let's. Are you gonna bring all three in? So we have.
Yeah, but they deserve some introductions, I believe.
We have composer, lyric, Jeffrey Loden.
Hi there.
Hi, Jeffrey.
Loden.
Let's bring everybody in, and then we'll talk
and
to them.
We have the Bill Squire.
Hey, huzzah!
And, yeah. And then the gorgeous Broadway icon.
Had to dress for the occasion here.
Gorgeous Broadway icon, Mana Allen.
Oh, stop. Thank you.
Oh.
Bill, I love that you dressed for the evening. I should have gotten into my like revolutionary like corset.
Totally.
Hey guys, check this out.
Kevin, wow.
Wow.
That was our Joseph Warren.
Joseph Warren, who is an unsung hero of the American Revolution. Just saying. Okay.
Guys, hey, we're going to get a lot of history tonight. So
real quick before we get going, when I approached this idea to Chris, obviously Chris was all about it. So then I called Jeff Loden. I said, Jeff, would this be something that you and Mana and Bill would want to do? And Jeff said, if Chris Brady's involved, I don't want anything to do with it. Like Chris Brady. So, Jeff, can you tell us
smart
why
people
you have
are.
such hatred towards Chris Brady?
Well, it's actually my deep and enduring love of Chris's wife, Erin. And Bill and I met Chris and Erin and a lot of the cast members, eventual cast members, the year before when we came to Rockford to do a reading of our show Top of the Heap at,
Right.
you said the New American Theater? I couldn't
Mhm.
remember the name.
NAT, New American Theater.
And
Mm.
they had, in their reading series, in their festivals, they had only done plays. So this was the first time they were attempting to do a musical, but they had no idea how to do a musical. So they called Mike Webb, saying, would you do it for us? And Mike tried to say no because you were in the midst of your
It was like he was directing Macbeth at the same time, or
You were
one of
doing
the Shakespeare plays.
three
Yeah.
different Shakespeare plays at the same time.
Those
Four.
four. Those four.
I remember-
All right. Let's set the scene for people. Now, I can help set the scene because once we get into rehearsal process, stuff like that, I wasn't around for a lot of that because I was at AMDA. But this I can help set up. So this is got to be 2000, 2001, around there. 2000. And we are in the middle of doing the first Shakespeare festival over at Starlight. And those of you who experienced a Shakespeare festival, at least one of those, you know, the first three were pretty massive. We did 4 freaking Shakespeare shows, all of them outdoor, all of them in October, right?
Sure.
We had fire pits set up. We had a temporary stage out in kind of right next to where Starlight is now. We were putting on all those shows at the same time. Yeah, Mike was approached to do this reading of a new musical. Oh, Mana just left us. She was like, "I'm done with this." She'll be back.
She's like, I don't do Shakespeare.
A reading of a new musical, Top of the Heap, written by these two at the bottom of your screen, everybody. These two wrote that one. Now, proceed, everybody.
So we did the musical. It went over very, very well. And
Yeah.
Mike and Bill and I got very friendly. And he started telling us about, you know,
The renovations
your-
going on at
the
Starlight.
renovation
Yeah.
of your amphitheater. He took us to the not complete renovation.
Yeah.
The blueprints looked amazing. And then he said, we do these shows in the summer. Do you have anything? Because we're trying to do new works. And we told him about the show Rebels, which I had started many years before working with my father-in-law, John Allen, Mana's father.
Yes.
And Bill came on board about 5 years later because it's a massive show.
Mm-hmm.
And Mike said, well, where is the show? And we said, well, the first act is complete. We're working on the second. He said, I'd like to commission you to finish the second act and premiere it at our theater. And we didn't think too hard before saying absolutely.
Right.
Yeah, really.
Awesome.
That's awesome.
Because my father passed away. My father passed away in March of 2000, and Mike, you know, when he heard that we only had the first act, but we
there's John.
promised.
That's John.
That's John. There he is. We you know, we promised him literally on his deathbed that we would finish this show, and Rock Valley Starlight Theater gave us the opportunity to really fulfill our promise, and that's why, you know, we were so happy to come to you guys with the new work.
I have to say real quick, Mana, when we were doing that out at Starlight, and I was young and whatever, but
You were a young pup
young.
back then,
But I
Mr.
saw
You haven't changed a bit.
We were all there doing the show, and it's hot out. We were doing, I think Chris and I were doing Grease at the same time, and
Yeah.
we were running all like crazy. He was working full-time jobs, going to school, all this stuff. But it really hit me. I'll never forget as long as I live. It really hit me when, and I got goosebumps even thinking about it. When I think we were in a preview or maybe after rehearsal or something, and you're up top and you're just sobbing. And it hit me at the time that I realized what had just happened. Your father had started this beautiful story, and then Jeff and Bill and you all took it on, and it dawned on me as a young kid looking at them like, wow, this is pretty special. and I'll never
Wow.
forget that. I just wanted to share that real quick. So.
Joe, thank you so much. That means so much to me. But it's true. It's really true.
It'd been neat to see him. It'd been really well. He was there. He was there watching us.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, I remember that Easter weekend when we all came to Rock. I mean, we came to Starlight Theater, and there was like a kind of like a preliminary read through of the show, and everybody was so just. I mean, my mom was with us.
Yeah.
And it was just such a meaningful experience for us because you guys like really took on this beautiful mission that my dad gave us at the very end of his life. And yeah, it was really, really meaningful.
Yeah.
And it's all about family, right? It's all about family because Rock Valley College is all about family. It's, you know, Starlight Theater is all about family. And there were so many generations of family that were involved with Rebels when we got to do it. It was incredible. Thank you so much.
We're going to be talking about one of those families tonight anyway when we bring them on. So just for those of you joining us as well as you guys, because we really didn't talk over talking points like we were supposed to. So everybody can catch up. This was a world premiere at Starlight Theater of this musical. So what we're going to do is really talk through maybe some of the process of putting this show up as a brand new show. And some of the difficulties from your end, ladies, gentlemen, and lady. And then we also want to talk about where it went after that and the experience thereof. And that's pretty much what we're talking about. So that's what we're going with for this evening of Rebels Night. Now, at Starlight, we remember this show as obviously an epic, right? And
huge.
It was huge at Starlight.
Huge.
We had this show maybe lasted what was it, 2:45, 3 hours, somewhere around there. As far as
Yeah.
And then how many people were in it? Does anybody remember approximately?
It was a cast of about 87.
I'm gonna start counting because I got my I found my
Look at
program.
this.
Hold on.
Really?
Yeah, I found my program. Look.
Yeah.
Mana, we call those playbills, Mana. They're playbills.
Playbills, yes.
Yeah.
I
Let's
found my
Let's just say to get everybody in the program, I think they used like 5-point font.
Yes, they did.
You almost need a magnifying glass to read it. There's so many people.
I remember.
Hi, Glendia Strandon. Hi, JT.
JT, mingle, smingle, bingle.
Oh, Bingle Smiggle, of course. Hi, Janet. How are you?
That's top of the heap, everybody. That was
Yeah,
Bingle.
that's a little blast from the further back past.
Oh man, Mike and I used to use that all the time afterwards. Once we got that
Really?
show, then it was all like, hey, let's go out in the audience and do some mingle, schmingle, bingle over dinner.
Oh, you don't know how happy that makes me.
That was good times.
So, how many, Mana, did you count up how many?
I'm doing it right now.
It's
Okay,
phenomenal.
I'm kind of slow, Joe. Sorry.
That's okay. I still
Kind of
love
slow.
I mean, I could talk a little bit to just the idea of what happened up to the point when we brought it to you guys. We were really, I was like the last person to come into the collaboration to help out a little bit and pick up some of what John still had planned to do and wasn't able to finish, and work with Mana on the book and work with Jeff on the songs. But I'd say, you know, we had probably, and I'm guessing off the top of my head, about 75% of the show where we wanted it when we agreed to go into the production. And so we still had a bunch of writing left to do and shaping coming into it. So the fact that Starlight was willing to commit to not only a production, but a incredibly detailed and huge production on the basis of what we've done so far was a real testament to you guys. And so we felt quite obligated to come through for you with the rest of the material. And actually, we did spend a little time shaping some of the material in the rehearsals, if you remember. I know there were at least a couple of songs. I know one for sure that got cut from the show. There was some reworking of scenes. I think might have been even a scene that might have been eliminated. And everybody was gung ho to go with whatever we threw at you, which was really amazing.
Hey, Bill, can you real quick, and I was moving my camera around, and maybe if you guys said it before, fine, but
sure.
Can you give us cliff notes real fast? Our audience, we know the show is about the Revolutionary War. Some of our younger audience don't even know what that means.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's actually was one of the interesting things about doing the show in Rockford, because, Jeff and Mana and I were all East Coasters, and Mana and I grew up, up here in the Northeast, where
Right.
we're surrounded by the Revolutionary War all the time. And a lot of the information that was in the show was sort of second nature. One of the things that was really helpful about bringing it out there was looking at and saying, all right, the folks in the Midwest haven't been inundated with this stuff. You get some in school when you're studying the Revolution, but you don't have the actual sites there and all the museums and everything and see it constantly. So part of what the process of doing it the first time that was interesting was seeing what we really needed to lay out for folks so that everybody had, the history they needed to understand what was going on.
Right.
But maybe Monica can talk to the more personal aspects of it.
Well, I mean, I don't,
Where the play starts and where it goes.
Yeah.
We actually renamed the show Rebel 1775 because it's about the events that lead to the revolution in Boston. So the play opens up on the Boston Tea Party and takes us through the
Bunker Hill
to Concord and Lexington first, which is the end of the first act.
Right.
And then the end of the show is the Battle of Bunker Hill or Breed's Hill.
Right.
Where we had 200 rounds of ammunition firing every night at 11 o'clock p.m. without telling the police that this was going on.
Right, and they ended up getting a lot of reports about something weird going on at Rock Valley College.
I came to a dress rehearsal with my dog, and my dog is like sleeping at my feet while I'm sitting in the back of the house. And when those guns started going off, he decided the fastest way out of the theater was over me. And just
And I have
to say, Bill, every dog in that area and all the surrounding houses down Mulford Boulevard, Mulford Road, were literally jumping out of their
that was crazy.
Running down the street.
And I have to tell you, I mean, I guess we got to stay for like the first 3 or 4 performances, right? I mean, we got to stay for opening night and then the whole weekend after that at Starlight Theater. And my daughter, Molly, who Joe Coots and Jeff and Bill know very well, she's now almost 24. But when she was when we were there at Rock Valley College, she was 4 and a half, and Christopher was like 5 and a half. Jeff's middle son, and here they are. I don't know if you can see. I don't know if you can see this. I don't know if you can see this, but there's Jeff, my lovely younger sister, Jeff's wife, with Christopher and Molly showing their tickets for opening night of Rebels.
Oh, and he's got his Rebels t-shirt on.
Yes, he's got his Rebels t-shirt on. And honestly, she lasted through the very first performance, but every single night after that, Molly, there was a reprise of Kind and Generous Gesture between the leading lady and leading man, and suddenly Molly would start screaming, "Bunker Hill's coming!" And she would run down the aisle of the theater and start running out to the literally to the parking lot, because she was so freaked out by but Bunker Hill, Bunker Hill was a big thing.
Yeah, Molly.
Yeah.
She doesn't. She. You know what she's always thinking, Molly.
Yeah.
Right there.
But
I gotta say,
Mana, maybe you can describe a little bit of John's real innovation for the show was that he created a very personal fictional story to go at the center of all of these
Right.
historical events.
Yes.
I mean, kind of like, and then this, I think it preceded it actually. It's similar in a way to Ragtime, which has a personal story at the center, fictional
Right.
characters, but it's all surrounded by historical events. Could you talk a little bit about that story?
I mean, I'd be happy to. It's very. I mean, that's a very sweet. That's a very sweet attribution, Bill. You know, to think about my dad, thinking about, you know, as a preceder to Ragtime, but.
Yeah.
My dad really always, you know, my dad did 15 shows for TheaterWorks USA, and they were all historical musicals, you know, for TheaterWorks USA. He always wanted to, you know, he loved American history, and his TheaterWorks USA shows included young Abe Lincoln and young Mark Twain and young Tom Jefferson, and you know he had a love of American history, and his idea was that not everybody was completely on one side or the other in the you know, during the American Revolution, that there were a number of people who were in the middle trying to figure out, how do I make my family, how do I make a living for my family in this like dichotomy of, you know, that and that, you know, British and American. And, you know, Dad really wanted to tell the story of someone who initially had his family at his heart in terms of how to negotiate the troubled times they lived in, and then slowly, you know, changed his mind to wanting to put himself at the heart of the American struggle. And, you know, I think I hope that we, you know, we did him proud.
You did him very proud.
Thanks, Joe.
And that, I mean, this is years.
Mike,
Hi, Mike.
Hey, Mike.
Yeah.
Mike, yeah.
Mike, I love your emoji.
This is years before the Patriot, right? Before
Yes.
it told.
I would think, yeah.
This is years before the Patriot and decades before Hamilton.
Yeah.
Never heard of
Just
Hamilton.
saying.
I haven't heard of it.
Yeah, we haven't heard about that.
I want to.
Jeff, you rewrite Rebels into a rap?
Oh, I hope.
Brings up an interesting question, because Jeff and I had just, the show that we were out there doing was something that was set in like 1950s New York nightclubs. So it had very much that sound. It was involved with live television, and so it's very kind of hip and cool and jazzy. I know you had already been working on the show, Jeff, before I got involved. But where did you find the sound for this show, which is very, very different? You know, very heightened and a lot of early American influences. I'm curious where that came from.
I mean, I always thought of this show as being a large orchestral sound, American sound. And, you know, so that became mine. I'm a disciple of Gershwin and Bernstein and Sondheim and Julie Stein, and find melodies, you know, write songs that can lift the spirit, you know. And so that's where John and I always headed, to write a large American sounding score.
And you guys came through with a remarkably huge pit for it too. I mean, and commissioned orchestrations for it.
Yes.
Let's go ahead then. Like, this is a great set. Oh, go ahead, Jeffrey. I see
I
what you
want to
got.
show you Kevin Jensen and Blaine Young. It says did the orchestrations, and I was given a copy of the orchestrations that are still sitting in my office 20 years later.
Yay.
Hey.
Thank you, Kevin.
Well, this is a good segue because we're going to bring on our Paul Revere slash
Yay.
slash the guy that orchestrated the show. And that's as good as an introduction as any. Welcome, Kevin Jensen.
Hi, guys.
Hey, Kevin.
Hi. That's what happened to those orchestrations. I couldn't find them during your office.
I created a diversion.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, Kevin.
Hi,
It's
Kevin.
20 years, right?
19 years.
19 years, my
years,
God.
yeah.
Coming up on 20 next year.
And
Right,
Mana is
right.
as beautiful as ever, and Jeff and Bill have their hair, and Joe wasn't that much to begin with, so it's kind of a lateral move.
You're so sweet.
That's good
Hold
time.
on, buddy. Hey, we gotta have a
Kevin.
face-off. Kevin
Can
Jensen,
I-
we have to have a face-off.
Yes, we do.
Can we do it
Okay.
virtually like this? Yeah, I like that one.
I know that face.
Kevin, can I ask you how many of your family members were actually involved with Rebels? Because one of my very favorite things about the entire experience was how many generations were actually involved with our production.
I think Rebels is the only show that everybody in my immediate family was in.
Wow.
Dan played in the pit. He was the bass player in the pit, so he wasn't on stage. But our son Ryan was Paul Revere Jr.
Yes.
And Amanda and my wife Amy were in the chorus, and I did Paul Revere. And I think that's the only Starlight show that we all five were part of.
Oh,
And
wonderful.
My mom has been involved over the years with Starlight, and was cast this summer, and also now my kids and my grandkids. So we have 4 generations.
Wow.
We're going to be on stage this summer.
We realized that this year or last year, I forget, because of the entrance of his grandchildren, the Jensen's involvement in Starlight is 4 generations deep.
Wow.
That's incredible.
That's,
Bravi.
that's a
Bravi.
record. That's a record.
Work on that, Joe.
I got you.
Mana and Jeff, I see you guys are trying to talk to Mike in the private chat. It doesn't work like that. It doesn't allow you to
Okay.
type into it. But
Don't
if
worry
Mike's
about it.
watching, you guys can go ahead and say stuff.
Okay. Hey, Mike. We're
That's
so
how it
happy.
Hey,
was-
Mike,
I
I'm
just-
gonna ask about
Can
the-
I just
the
can I
friend,
just say-
picture.
Yeah, can I just say thank you, Mike Webb, because it was your vision that, just talking with Bill and Jeff, because they had been with you
Yeah.
before, that, oh, there we go. Yeah,
I don't know
I
how to
mean-
make that.
Ponds.
yeah. So thank you so much, Mike, and all of your family. And I think your wife designed the costumes for the show, right? Am I
Oh my
crazy?
God.
Right? I mean,
Yep,
yeah,
yep.
and I have so much respect and gratitude for your belief in this project, and look what's happened since.
Mike goes, hey, Mana M. I love it.
The costumes actually are a great example of how much Starlight and the whole team there invested in the show. I remember them going to like the Smithsonian Museum, I think, to get the patterns for the dresses and the uniforms that the people wore in the show, so that they could all be
Right.
historically accurate. And then they were all built in the Rock Valley costume shop, and they were incredible. I think we borrowed them for another production. They were so amazing.
Hey, speaking of costumes, Christopher Brady, do we still have those costumes?
I'm not the guy to ask.
I'm
Most
just saying.
likely, yes. Most likely, yes. We're still going through inventory all the time, but
All I'm saying, is if you can find some of those costumes, bring it back, baby.
Oh, bring back Rebels? Well, this is that, Joe. You do a good segue. Let's talk real quick, and we can come back to the the experience.
There, boys, girls, I'm helping you.
What's the life of Rebels, everybody? So we'll come back and we'll talk about Starlight real quick. But where did Rebels go after this? Because Joe, I know you got experience with it, and everybody else, I know you have experience with it. So what happened after Starlight Rebels? What happened to it?
Who wants to jump in?
Yeah, go.
Well, we brought it to New York to do developmental readings, and this was I actually had a phone call with Mr. Coots to tell him that we were doing the show in New York, and would he like to come? Joe immediately bought a plane ticket because he wanted to be in the audience to watch the show. I said, Joe, no, you don't understand. I want you to be in the show. So indeed he was. And we did it. We did it in New York. But, you know, the economics of New York theater are truly fearsome. And it's a large show. We have looked at cutting the show down. I think we've talked about 19 and shadow puppets and, you know, finding a different way to tell a story. But even a show with 19 is a very large show for New York theater. Yes, not 87.
I mean, if you see the poster behind me here, that was a production that was done in Connecticut that actually may have borrowed some of the costumes. And they took it and actually did it in a black box theater, believe it or not.
Right.
And came up with a very conceptualized way of doing it.
But it was still like 25 people. It was
I still had 1 million people.
Still like 1 million people in it, yeah.
In a house that only sat 74.
Right. And they actually literally had a catwalk that went around the outside of it. So when they had Bunker Hill, the audience was being fired on from overhead.
That won't work in the days of COVID, man.
Right, exactly.
Jeff, I remember that phone call explicitly, obviously. And I think what started that you thought to call me was I think we were out on a boat with Kevin Jensen.
Oh.
Out in the Rock River. And I was talking to you about possibly maybe would I make it in New York or whatever. And, you know, I was kind of going, I knew my current job was going a certain direction. I didn't know what I wanted to do. And so you actually looked me a couple days, well, maybe that day or the day after, I can't remember. And you said, you know, you're big, you can act, you can sing, and you're tight. There's not a lot of guys like you. And so because of you,
it was that day on the boat.
Rebels, I have now done what I've done, and I can never thank you beyond.
There are more people in New York that I have to keep apologizing to for bringing you to New York.
But I never would have done it. Like, I never would have had the audacity to, like, drop everything and move out there, and I appreciate it. Now that with this worldwide pandemic, I'm unemployed, so now it's back to you again.
So it's all Jeff's fault now.
It's all Jeff's fault.
Pretty much. But I mean,
but what a joy to be your friend, Joe, all these years. I mean, 20 years later, here we are, like, you know, all of us friends.
It's crazy because we were at Kenny Boy's wedding reception celebration.
Yes.
And I saw Jeff's boys, and little Molly comes up to me. I'm like, you're a
little Molly. She's 23 years old now.
But you guys have done a phenomenal job. And Bill, I haven't seen your kids recently, but you guys have done a phenomenal job with those ones and letting them live their life the way they want to live their lives.
They are.
Thank you. But I mean, but you've been kind of like an uncle to them, like all these years.
It's because when I got there,
a lovely thing.
I was like, are these kids gonna remember me? They were jumping on top of me. They were like running and jumping at them.
So, they're like a human jungle gym.
Right, exactly. Exactly.
Kevin Jensen, your boat started all this. So there you go, buddy.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you, Kevin.
So when we do Rebels again at Starlight, Chris Brady, we'll get back on Kevin's boat and we'll have a little mini reunion.
Well, one way it's been successfully performed, aside from full productions, is it makes a very good concert piece.
Yes.
Because the
That's
score
true.
is so full. You know, Jeff's music, even if you're just hearing it on a piano, just fills the area. And vocally, you guys probably remember, it's pretty rich.
Well,
in terms of,
the reading that when Jeff alluded earlier, come out and do the reading of it. It's like, if people don't know, I think it was a 20-hour workshop. What did we do on that?
Probably something like that.
Thing, yeah.
So Actors Equity has a deal where if you're developing new shows and it's a 24-hour workshop or 20-hour, whatever it is. So you come in and you do a whole week of it, and then you have 2 presentations or 3 presentations of it, and then you invite people to come see it.
Right.
Producers, agents, money people, whatever it is. So we did that reading in New York, and I was in there with, Eddie Corbett, J.O. Sanders, Kenny Boys, obviously, all these like working Broadway actors.
Right.
J.O. Sanders, TV star. And I'll never forget, J.O. Sanders was saying to me, he goes, "What's your plans?" I said, "Well, I don't know. I spent that whole week being a working actor in New York, like getting up in the morning, going to rehearsal, coming home, reading stuff, getting ready for the presentation." And Jay goes, and that's when the Full Monty was just coming about in New York. And Jay goes, "You need to be seen for the Full Monty." I go, okay. I didn't, so naive. And he goes, "You need to go meet Sharon." I think her name is Sharon Kaler. She was the casting director for it. And she had, believe, came for the reading of it because Jay invited her. So then she's in the hallway, and Jay goes, "This guy needs to get seen for Full Monty." And then, so I sent her my stuff, went over there, met her, came back to Illinois, sent in a tape audition. And she was like, "Okay, we needed a vacation swing. We figured it out. But you need to come to New York." And that's when it really was like, put it over the top. So if it wasn't for that reading, and I've done Full Monty maybe 700 times.
Oh, yeah.
For that reading and meeting Jay and you guys, I would have never been naked in front of 1 million people.
And can I tell you, Joe? I mean, this is like a really like very like, this is just a little side note to that, but the person who played your wife for so many productions of Full Monty, Happy McCartland.
Oh, she's the best. She was the original.
She was in my very, very first, as a teacher, she was my very first student in a summer program at Cap 21, 25 years this summer.
That's
like
wow.
This month, I'm thinking about Happy all of the time. But, the fact that you guys got to perform together, and then she didn't really make her Broadway debut until she was over 40, right?
Come from away.
Right?
Come from away.
Right.
She had retired from the business, moved to Washington, because
Right. And then she came back. So, I mean,
she only needs that. The problem with that girl, she just needs voice lessons. That's it.
Another little trivia note. Happy actually played a character in Top of the Heap that Anna played before she did.
Yes,
really?
because Happy played it when Jeff and Bill decided I was too pregnant to actually play my part. So I read stage directions, and Happy played my part that time.
Well, the character was a stripper, so maybe we should have gotten Joe to do it instead.
Right, exactly.
You're good at that.
Can you real quick for our 1 million fans, and we'll get back to Rebels in 2 seconds. Can you real quick talk about your Broadway career? Like your Broadway career. Yeah.
Well,
original cast.
I made my Broadway debut in the original cast of Merrily We Roll Along, which, I was very lucky to work with Stephen Sondheim and Hal Prince and George Berth, at the very beginning of my career.
A few legends.
And just a few legends. Yeah. And, I worked for 15 years, and I did 17 world premiere productions. The other Broadway show that I worked on for 2 years in its workshop until Broadway was a show called Smile that I worked with Howard Ashman and Marvin Hamlish. Howard Ashman, you know, is the lyricist and you know, it's the lyricist and book writer of Little Shop of Horrors, and also of Little Mermaid. Yeah.
Jodie Benson was,
Yeah.
Jodie Benson was in Smile, right?
Jodie Benson was in Smile, and she was a Rock Valley College gal too, right? And
Yeah, we talked to her early on.
We had her on.
so Jodie and I did the workshop of Smile for a year and a half, and then before we went to Broadway together, we went to India and Sri Lanka. Jodie and Ray Benson, her husband, and me, we went to India to perform Once Upon a Mattress as a cultural gift from our country to the countries of India and Sri Lanka, and then after we did that, we trekked to the Himalayas together, and then we came back and we went and did the Broadway show of Smile together. So I mean, we've had like a lot of really great memories. And a few years ago, I can probably send you some pictures, but a few years ago, 54 Below did a reunion concert of Smile, and our daughter Molly was like a ringer in that, you know, an actual typical high school senior in that. But Jodie and I got to, you know, we got to sing together again, which was amazing. Yeah.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
Hey, Chris, should we bring in Enoch?
I don't think we have him. We don't have him.
No Roger?
Kicks, man.
Roger?
Yeah, we were gonna bring on Roger, buddy, but he keeps on getting kicks, so he's not backstage at all. But we do need to bring it back. So we've got about maybe 15 minutes left. I mean, we could talk forever, I'm sure, and we could bring in hundreds of people, but that's just not how this works. So we should go back. This is partly why we have Kevin on right here, because I was away at school for a lot of this rehearsal process. So what I remember about this whole thing, we're bringing it back to Starlight, is I remember Zach Newman and his wife doing all those, we call them robots, but they were the
yeah.
Oh my gosh, all those the puppets, right? The puppets.
They spent all summer making those things. I remember, and
Wow.
then they had to spin and stuff. I remember that, and I obviously remember all the bombardment. I remember a lot of my songs because I played Jamie Button in that one.
Yeah.
And there's a local actor in town in Rockford. His name is Jamie Button, so he always reminds me of Rebels.
Oh,
He's really good too. So I mean, that's my experience. But Kevin, you played Paul Revere, and how long was your song at that time? When because you had a lot of story to tell, man.
It was word dense, and as we already mentioned, I was orchestrating the show. It was beautifully written, and the piano parts were what we were rehearsing to. And I think it was probably Jeff's. Did you do a recording for us, maybe, Jeff?
Yeah.
And we're using that for rehearsal a lot. We had rehearsal pianists, and every night at rehearsal, I would be backstage and I'd have my little setup, my table. I was just writing as fast as I could and just trying to stay ahead on the orchestrations. The problem was I should have been memorizing my songs and learning all of those words. So I'm so sorry, you guys. I feel like I just kind of did that every night in short-term memory. I would just cram right before and try to remember all those words and spit them out as best as I could.
Well, you only had to do the entire ride of Paul Revere in one number.
yeah, exactly.
And in 4 keys, I think it modulated at every verse.
I remember your competition at the auditions was a guy who showed up with his own horse. But you got the role. You got the
I got
role.
the gig.
The horse got cast in The Music Man.
Right.
Yeah.
Playing in repertory.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They were doing a good horse.
yeah.
And what fun it was doing the orchestrations. And I remember the first, it was a pretty big orchestra.
19 pieces.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it was
Yeah, it
a
was
regular sized
gigantic.
orchestra. And I remember like the first time we were all huddled around the pit and when we heard the opening number, the first time we heard them. And we went to an orchestra rehearsal early on, and Jeff and Bill were there, and they were so gracious the whole time. And I was so proud. There was one of the numbers I thought, what would be perfect is because it was period piece. I used harpsichord as the continuo instrument, and then wrote the instruments around it. And I thought, oh boy, this is going to be. And I liked it. I still did.
Oh, there's
And,
Roger.
Hey, Raj.
Roger, come on.
And I remember we got to that part, and I'm like, okay, here it comes. And I think it was Bill just goes, I've never been a fan of harpsichord.
Oops.
And Jeff was like, yeah, you're right. So I don't know if it stayed or not, but that was my idea.
Well, am I correct in remembering
Right.
that
I
the
remember
whole
being the
orchestra
one that
was
used to be
also
a shop for
volunteers? I
Rumble.
mean, these
Yeah.
were not
Yeah.
folks who were getting a salary to do this.
Yes.
It was a lot to ask of them.
Oh,
Yeah.
that is our pit orchestras out at Starlight. They're
Yeah,
always
yeah.
volunteer. They're always awesome. As a matter of fact, one of the things
Wow.
we're showcasing this week. Mark Miller, one of our music directors out here this season, he put together a video of the orchestra, volunteer orchestra, playing
Chris.
Annie prologue right now.
Wow.
Yeah, so like as in COVID, they're individually playing.
Right.
And
Oh, cool.
And then you're putting it all together in the can
Yeah.
and like putting it
Yeah.
out. That's wonderful.
yeah, they're awesome. The pit orchestra is fantastic out here. So
That's
So
great.
I don't think enough can be said about the bombardment as a cast member. Where were you during the Battle of Bunker Hill, Chris?
backstage, man.
He got to sit that one out.
And
Yeah.
Joe just left us. Where'd Joe go?
Joe, I think he was having audio
Joe's
issues.
coming back.
Joe knows a lot, but not anything about technology.
I never experienced it from the audience. It was just, you could see these loaded things that were around you, and you knew it at some point they were going to blow up. And then they're like firecrackers, and you're just up there singing and shooting.
Wow.
It was awesome.
Sorry, guys,
That
I
was
lost
so cool.
There he is.
Yeah,
I love the fact that the police would show up every night.
Yeah.
When all the
I know.
explosions started going off, but then they would stay and watch the end of the show.
yeah.
Once they had
That's our
determined that Rockford wasn't being invaded.
Right.
I think that actually started their
Wow.
tradition.
Hey, they were loud.
They were
It could have
loud.
started, but I think it started the tradition.
That's funny. Jeff, you got any more memories?
Rock Valley College police still come to the shows. Like they'll come and stay and watch now.
Oh, wow.
So-
nice. That's so nice.
That's cool.
Did we start that tradition?
I don't know. Mike, you can answer the comments. Maybe that happened before that, but they do it now. I know that. We can see if Roger still looks
Can't hear
frozen to
Chris
me.
at all.
Well, technical difficulties.
I just found a.
That's cool.
Did we start that tradition? I just found a picture of me and Jody together
Oh,
when we were doing our 54 Below reunion concert at Smile, and here's Molly and Jody together. So cute, right? She's a lot older than she was when she was 4 years old during Rebel.
Jody together.
We have
Roger's got his phone on. He's listening to it in the past, so we're hearing all.
Oh, he's upside down.
Roger.
I don't know if Roger's going to work out in this one, unless Roger's just very stoic.
So cute, right?
Adorable.
Love.
Roger
Okay,
Shepherd.
hi, Rod.
Hey, Jeff, is that the piano behind you?
I'm in my studio. So my piano's over to my left. My microphone. Hello?
Hey, how many songs were in the show, Jeff? Do you remember?
I want
Oh.
to say about 17.
Yeah,
I
that's
can
probably
I
pretty
can
safe.
I can
70.
count right now from the. I
I'm
can
gonna
count.
look.
Go ahead. Somebody give us that number. I just remember it is. I don't remember all the shows. I've done a bunch of shows myself, and I was Mike loves to do world premieres. He's always he's been very keen on world premieres.
Well, he's written quite a few
Yeah.
of his own, right?
Yes, he has.
13,
But I don't always remember all the songs all the time. But I remember a ton of these songs. I remember Falmouth Bay. Like I remember the melodies. I remember
Well,
singing them. I know all
there
of
were-
mine.
There were 23 scenes.
Okay.
13 scenes in the first act and 10 in the second. But some of them had multiple numbers, Jeffrey and Bill.
Hey, your dad wrote most of them before I showed
Yes,
up.
he did. Yes, he did. Yes.
Bill's,
Thank you, Daddy.
Bill's fault.
Bill's fault. Yeah.
I remember rehearsing my songs with Jeff in New York before I actually came back out.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
One of
did you?
those.
Right,
Yeah.
and you
Forgot
were,
about that.
and Chris, you went to AMDA, right? So you were like
Right,
with, were you
right.
with Andy Leach, and who were your
Andy
teachers
Leach.
at AMDA?
Eddie Leach is awesome. I love that dude.
Yeah.
I know Eddie Korbich was in the show later.
Yeah, he
Andy
played
But
Kevin's
but
role.
Yeah.
but Chris, let's face it, like Eddie Korbich was the person that Jeff, I'm gonna just say it, Jeff wrote Jamie for Eddie Korbich. And you got to play it after. That's so cool. And you got to be taught by his husband. That's fantastic.
I know it's a small world.
Yeah, it's very small
Chris,
world.
Chris
It's
and I were just
amazing.
talking about. Chris and I were the other day talking about Eddie Korbich. Remember Jeff, Mon, and Bill? We did that reading not of Rebels, but of something different. And Eddie Korbich comes, like, where is he? He's supposed to. We rehearse with him all day. Where is he? Where is he? Where is he? And then he comes running through the back of the house. He like made his own entrance. I don't
No.
know what
Eddie
show it
Korbich-
was, but he was
For
great.
those of you who don't know who Eddie Korbich is, he's done a jillion Broadway
Yeah.
shows.
A
He's just
jillion.
a jillion for real. He basically looks a lot like Kevin Supay, but a touch older and the hairline of Kevin Jensen.
And a better tap dancer.
But
His most recent one was
but-
Gentleman's Guide. He was in
Yeah.
the full run of that.
Right. But he was
He's
the
awesome.
original George in Drowsy Chaperone, and he was the original Scuttle in The Little Mermaid, and he was the original a lot of things. Just
Yeah.
look, just IBDV him, and you'll see all
I saw-
of his
I saw Eddie
amazing
in,
career.
I saw Eddie in Drowsy Chaperone, and after the show,
He's
he
so
gave
good.
me my date a tour backstage. He was very gracious and nice, and I go, Eddie, how'd you learn how to tap dance? And he just literally nonchalant goes, "That's how we started." All right, that's how you started. You know, so he's like
Snap.
years later.
Snap. Right.
Guys, we're at 7:55, so I'm going to get some final thoughts from you guys. How was the experience for you? Can you describe basically it? It was all done. So the experience of Rebels at Starlight was done for you. I assume, and I guess it's terrible to assume, that you loved the fact that at the very least there was a show that you guys wrote that was put on stage and premiered. But I assume you can expound on that. So if you would.
Well, I
No.
mean, certainly the I keep harping on this, but the level of production told us so much about the show that it kind of took years off the development because we learned things about what the final product could be like from the degree of production that you guys put into it, in terms of everything from the technical aspects to, you know, the size of the performance and the passion of the performers and I mean, one more time, you know, the size of the cast. It was incredibly helpful in that respect because you know, you look at very large shows like Les Miserables getting to the Broadway stage. They had to spend many years bringing that show up to the point where they could start to add all those production elements and start to really realize what the potential is. And, you know, you guys gave us such a shortcut to knowing what it could really be on such a large scale. And that, I think, is, you know, that's, for me, I mean, most of the shows I've written have been much smaller anyway, but I've never had another production that was that huge. And so for that reason, among many others, you know, it's going to be one of the most memorable productions I've ever had.
For me, knowing it's not an easy score. It's dense orchestral music. It's dense choral music. It's not easy. And I always owe Kevin an apology because Paul Revere's song I wrote for Eddie Corbett, so it's up in the rafters. But the passion and dedication of every single person that I met in Rockford working on it, the joy of performing, and it's beautiful when you get to perform with your children, with your husband, with your wife. It's beautiful, and it translated to the audience, you know, the joy that was felt on the stage. The band, you know, not an easy score, and they played their asses off. And Kevin did a remarkable job orchestrating this thing in whirlwind time. And it's very tough being an orchestrator because you do your work last, and then you might have great ideas. And yes, at that first band rehearsal, the composer or the lyricist says, that doesn't work. And you're back to the drawing board. And that's exactly what Kevin did. And it was so professional. It was so professionally handled in every aspect, with one tiny exception. And I love this story. The first preview performance, the set of Rebels was a set made out of wood, built for all three shows. So it needed to be used in The Music Man and I guess Grease and Rebels. And so the North Church was a steeple off to one side. And at the end of the first act, Paul Revere's singing up in the rafters, singing The British Are Coming. The regulars are out singing high G's. But in the mayhem of trying to put the show together, it was forgotten about the lantern. How do we light the lantern? And there was a kerosene lantern. What do we do? And I know backstage they were scurrying around looking for something, and someone found a flare and put it in the kerosene lantern and lit it. And now he's up on singing The Regulars Are Out up in the North Church, and the lantern caught on fire. And the whole steeple of the North Church went up in flames, and the audience is just staring at this fire.
Yeah, I thought it was all about my hitting that high A. The audience, the cast was below me, and the cast was just looking up like, and then I looked at the audience, and they were just transfixed. And then I looked up, and the arm of my costume is on fire, and there's flames licking. Now, thankfully, no one was actually hurt. But I think it looks spectacular.
Well, you have to remember,
and Todd Bonzi was the house manager, or was the stage manager. And
it was Todd. It wasn't Jared.
I think it was Todd, because he's pulling the back of my coat as I'm singing, and I'm like, what else could go wrong? And I turn around, and he goes, "Give me the lamp." So I passed off the burning lamp. Yeah, that was.
We have to remember we were coming out of the era. We're coming out of the era of like Phantom of the Opera dropping a chandelier, or Miss Saigon landing a helicopter. So they probably figured frying Kevin Jensen was our big special effects.
Light somebody on fire.
It worked. It worked.
That's hilarious.
But it was just a joy to be a part of the community, to be a part of the theater, to go there every night. And when I didn't want to sit in the house watching, I would stand up in the parapet with the spot ops, and I would just dance. I would just be in heaven.
Yeah.
Those
I
of
mean,
us who got to
I
be
have
on,
to. I'm so sorry, Kevin. Go
go
ahead.
ahead. No, please.
No, I mean, I just want to say from like the more personal aspect of it, for my family, for all of us, for Jeffrey and Bill and me, to be able to realize one of my father's dreams after he died meant so much to us. And every single one of your families contributed to what we were able to, create together. And we'll never forget it. It's really a huge chapter in our lives, and we are so grateful to all of you and to all of the friendships that we've been able to, nurture since that time. Thank you so much. It's so nice to be together tonight.
That's why we did this.
And we would not have done this if the world was normal. So,
Right.
lemons of lemonade. It's
Yeah.
wonderful to be with you, even virtually.
Nice.
Yes.
Nice
We
way to
would
think
not
about
have
it.
done this, guys. We would not have gotten together with you all if it was normal.
No, no, we would have just gone on with other stuff.
I have one thing that I do need to say. Corridors of Time got taken out of Rebel for real.
No.
I was told it did. Is it back? Is it in?
The opening number is still in the show.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think it might have a slightly different lyric, but
Yeah.
Chris, you'll know soon when we do it at Starlight again.
Right.
That'd be
Well,
so
it's
great.
a concert series. We might be able to do it like a concert series in the parking lot.
I will be there. One phone.
Me too.
You make a phone
All I
call,
know
I'll be there.
is Macintosh needs a tune. Jeffrey
Wait,
knows Macintosh.
No,
We
that
do
was,
it in the parking lot. The police could stay in their cars.
Well, we're going to be doing Shakespeare in the parking lot.
Excellent.
And then I guess Rebels. This is a done deal right there.
It's so great.
Hey guys, I don't know how.
I just missed.
Mana's telling this beautiful story about her dad, and we got to the end of it, and I'm sitting at my house, and I hear a gunshot go off. I'm hoping it's just fireworks, and now I hear cop cars. So maybe this is kind of fitting that we were talking about Rebels with gunshots going on.
Right.
I'm pretty sure it was just a firework.
That
Don't get me
moment.
wrong.
Yeah.
Hi, Wendy.
Hi, Wendy Strominger.
Oh, guys. I mean, every time I get together with somebody from Rebels, we just start going, "See how we dig down the corridors of time." It's the best. I love that song, and I think it was the first show with my wife too. The first show I did with my wife at Starlight. We did shows in the studio before that, but this being 2000. Nope, this is 2001. Rebels.
2001.
Yeah.
2000, you did Top of the Heap with Aaron, the reading of New American.
Never mind, because we did Forum the year before together. So
Oh, nice.
We'll just take that story out of this recording.
yeah.
No.
Everybody.
Is there a recording,
one of my
a controversial
favorite
recording,
memories.
guys?
Please give us her love from all of us.
Will do.
We
Will
like
do.
her better than Chris. One of my favorite memories of that summer, 2000, whatever it was, 2001, was Rebels, all that. But I will never forget, I went to the one night I went to go see Music Man, and I'm sitting 2 rows behind Jeff and Bill. And those 2 guys during Music Man are just jumping up and down and dancing the whole show. And I was like, these guys are awesome. I just remember them dancing the entire time and loving every ounce of Music Man.
Well, one of the things about Jeff up on the parapet was as the theater got dark and the parapet was no longer visible, the cast could tell how the show was going from Jeff's movements because he would go up there to smoke a cigar. And if they saw the tip of the cigar going like this, they figured it must be going pretty well.
Jeff one time was in New York City, or lives in New York City, but I was there I went to some show reading that Jeff was the pianist for. And Jeff, if you guys don't know him, Jeff Loden's a very accomplished pianist.
Amazing.
Very, very.
Yes.
Like,
Incredible.
Yep.
Yeah.
But he's so passionate. So when you're watching him play, you don't watch the people on the stage. You watch the guy playing the piano. And I'll never forget, as long as I live, he's sitting there playing. And I just see him playing, and he goes to one hand, and he's doing this. Doing this. I'm like, was he sweating? Turns out he hit his head on the top of the piano. He cut himself, and he's wiping the blood away from his head.
Listen, sadly, that's not the only time that's happened.
Yeah. And afterwards,
That's my brother-in-law.
Jerry Mitchell for years goes full out. That was full out, Jeff Loden. That is full out, baby.
Full out all the time.
All the time.
Well,
Thank you, Joe, and thank you, Chris, for putting this together.
Yeah,
Thank
it's
you.
been such a delight.
Kevin,
Great to see you, Kevin.
Great to see you.
Good
Great
to see you, Kevin, Chris, Joe, Bill, Jeff.
Love you all.
Yes, guys, thank you so much for being a part of this. This was awesome. It was great to catch up. At the same time, we'll talk, everybody.
Yeah.
This
Rebels
is good
coming
time.
back to Starlight. I keep saying.
Yes.
Oh, Jody.
Everybody that was in Rebels, it's out there right now. Good to see you chime in. Say goodbye to everybody. Thanks, Mike, for chiming in. Wendy, Kat, Kevin, Supay.
Good attempt.
Right.
Roger.
It was awesome. And sorry we didn't get Roger on. He feels like the Matt Damon right here, right?
Yep. Didn't have time.
Next time. Okay, guys, thank you so
Stay
much.
safe, everybody.
Hang
I
out
love you.
right
Bye.
next to me.
You made me
Once
cry.
we end this, don't leave. But
Stay
everybody
well,
else,
everybody. Stay well.
Everybody stay on. Everybody stay on.
bye, guys.